Hey folks, it's Kat.Beanie and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in my life right now while we do some fishing in Minecraft. So I know this isn't a live stream, but bear with me guys. Um, okay, so on Monday, so the start of this week, me and my husband were going to drop her. He was going to go make a doctor's appointment for his hernia, and our kids' nursery is right next door, so he was going to go in, make a doctor's appointment. I was going to go drop off our kid. Then we were going to go to the gym, as per usual. I dropped our kid off, and then he phoned me and said they've got an appointment in 15 minutes. I'll just wait. So I was like, right, that's cool. I'll go to the gym. You go to your appointment. Everything's good. I get a phone call when I'm in the gym from my husband, who's understandably a bit worried, saying the doctor had a feel of his stomach and he's concerned about his liver. Like, right, okay. I'm coming straight home. So I jumped off the treadmill, went home. Obviously my husband got this worried look on his face, and we just didn't understand what was going on. They took blood tests at his appointment. So at 6:30 that night, Monday night, someone from the hospital phones him and says, you might need to come in for a blood transfusion. Your hemoglobin's really low. And but they're like, just wait till, if we phone back, because otherwise you'll just need to go to your GP in the morning and get some iron tablets. Like, right, fine. Wee bit weird, but okay. I mean, I'm anemic myself, so I understand what iron tablets are like. So we wait, and there's nothing for a little bit, and we're like, right, fine. So we'll just go to the GP in the morning and get you some iron tablets. Sorry about that, folks. But at about 9 that night, they phone back and they say, you need to come into hospital. Your kidneys are failing. And obviously, when they said your kidneys are failing part, my husband understandably got really upset, and then our oldest walked out of their bedroom and he just burst, and then she just burst, and obviously explained to her what was going on. I'm on the phone to mum going, if I come and get you right now, can you come and watch the kids? And she's like, yeah, of course. Explained what was going on. Went and picked my mum and dad up, explained what was going on the way back in the car. Thankfully they just lived 10 minutes down the road. Took my husband into A&E, where they said a team would be waiting for him. It wasn't. And he got his blood pressure checked, his temperature, those sorts of things. And then he was taken round to a ward, the immediate care bit of A&E at Edinburgh Royal. And they did an ultrasound of his stomach, and the only way I can explain it, I saw the ultrasound, the only way I can explain it is, if you think of the shape of like honeycomb, how it's like all together, that was what the cysts were like in his stomach and his kidneys. So the technician then said, I think you've got this condition, but I can't confirm it because I'm not, he's a doctor, but he's not a specialist. He's not legally qualified to confirm that diagnosis. So he says, I think you've got this. I'm like, right, okay. And then they took more bloods. I had to make my way home because it was like 1 o'clock in the morning by then. So I drove home. My parents stayed in our bed and I slept on the couch. I got about 2 hours sleep. I got up for the kids in the morning, got them off to school, nursery, took my parents back to their house, and obviously went in to see my husband, who was then in the renal intensive care unit, or high dependency unit. He was in the transplant ward, so I walked in. I was like obviously a bit panicked because why is he in the transplant ward? And he explained to me when I got there, he's hooked up to all these machines. There's a dialysis machine next to him, and he explained to me that he has polycystic kidney disease. And not only does he have it, it's genetic. So there's a 50-50% chance that each of our kids could also have this disease. When he phoned me when I was driving home the night before, and he said that his kidneys were sitting at 3% efficiency. Now, I thought at the time that maybe he was just like tired and stuff, and he meant like stage 3 of the disease, where stage 1 is, you know, the start, stage 5 is the worst. No, his kidneys were sitting at 3%. They were only working 3%. He's in end stage kidney failure. He needs a kidney transplant. Not only does he need a kidney transplant, he needs a kidney transplant. My husband is 6'9", so he needs a kidney transplant from someone who's either 6'8" or 6'10", and blood type A positive. Which is, I don't know. So yeah, he's been in the hospital since then. He's in now. Me and my oldest went to go see him this morning. I wanted to take all of the kids in to see him tomorrow after school, but my parents had what they think was COVID a little while ago, and then they gave that to me a little while ago, like when I wasn't speaking very well. We think that's what that was. And now my son has that. And because now my husband is immunocompromised, he can't see our son at the minute, because obviously if he catches anything, it's very not good for him. So yesterday when we went in to see him, his heart rate was up and his heart rate was up and his temperature were up, and they both weren't good. He'd had a blood transfusion. He'd had 2 pints from a blood transfusion, and his heart rate and temperature spiked after that, and they had to give him his iron, but they couldn't give him his iron until his heart stabilized. So thankfully today his heart is stabilized, his temperature is stable, he's getting a port put in, a line put in for dialysis, which he will get 3 days a week, about 5 hours at a time, up until he can get a kidney transplant. And that's where we're at the moment. So my husband didn't have any symptoms. He didn't have any symptoms. His stomach was distended a little bit, but he thought that was down to the hernia, which he does have. He does have a hernia. So he thought it was down to that, and I thought it was down to that. And he has like a tan, but he's not overly yellow. Nobody noticed that his kidneys were shutting down. His eyes aren't yellow. He had none of the other symptoms. He had no symptoms. If he hadn't went to the doctor to get his hernia checked out, it could have been a few days, weeks, or months down the line, but he could have dropped down dead in the street or at home, or I could have just woken up one morning and he was gone. We wouldn't have known. Or he could have caught a bug or something like that, and you know, we just. So the future for us and our family, as some of you know, we've also got 3 autistic children, which are taking it well, considering only our oldest knows the extent of what's going on. Our younger 2 couldn't and wouldn't understand. Our middle knows that dad's sick and he's in hospital, and our youngest obviously doesn't know anything. So my kids are gonna have to get tested when they're a little older to see if they have the genetic they have this genetic marker, and if they do, they will need to be scanned every few years until it manifests, if it manifests in them. The both of my husband's side of the family, so his maternal and paternal sides of the family, have to get tested to see what side it's came from, and then all of that side of the family will then also have to be tested for this condition. This is a hereditary condition. He quit smoking 2 years ago. He hardly drinks alcohol, or used to drink alcohol. He can't drink alcohol anymore, obviously. But you know, he doesn't smoke. He doesn't really drink. There's nothing he did in his lifestyle that caused any of this. This is just a hereditary condition, and thankfully his brothers are okay. They're fine, and obviously thankfully the kids are all right. Just now this thing doesn't sort of manifest until you're, I think, between your 20s and 40s, because my husband will be 40 next year. So we're just sort of in a bit of shock at the moment and taking it day by day. Sorry. Yeah, and that's where we're at the moment. So as I said, I don't know when I'll be making content, if I'll be making content. You know, if you do want to support the channel, please like, subscribe, watch some videos on YouTube. I've also got Twitch, you can check me out over there, watch the VODs, or follow. I'm not really paying attention to, you know, any of this at the moment. We're just trying to get our heads around our new normal for our family, and obviously if we want to go on holiday, we have to be near a hospital where he can get dialysis, or be able to take a portable dialysis machine with us. We have to maybe get a different car to accommodate all the extra medical equipment we may need. I've already ordered like face masks and sanitizer and all that stuff because obviously he is immunocompromised. If he even catches the cold, he could end up back in hospital. So, and if one of us is sick, so if one of my kids is sick, he can't be around the kid. So he may have to go stay with his mum while our kids are sick. And obviously, if our kids are sick and I'm sick, I still have to look after our kids while we're all sick and, while he's keeping himself safe. And we do have some family nearby, but some of them are also sort of immunocompromised, and obviously they're older and stuff, and everybody's got their own lives. So it's just trying to work it around what our new routine's going to be. He might be having dialysis on Christmas, so we've worked out that if he's having dialysis on Christmas, we're either going to have Christmas on Christmas Eve or we're going to have it on Boxing Day, because our younger two won't know the difference. We'll just postpone their advent calendars a day or something. So yeah, our younger two won't know the difference. It's just then that, dad gets to have Christmas with the family and get to watch the kids open their presents. And at the minute, he's in hospital till at least Sunday this week. So he will miss Halloween, which is tomorrow. And depending on how things go, if he needs to stay longer, he may miss our daughter's 4th birthday on Wednesday next week. We had planned to have her birthday on Saturday, where we were going to take her to a soft play place called Connie Fox in Edinburgh for her birthday, and I need to pick up her cake on Saturday. So I can't justify taking the kids somewhere where there's a bunch of other kids that may get them sick, which may then get their dad sick or me sick. Which if I get sick and I don't know it and I take that to him and get him sick, then he's just going to be in hospital for longer. So yeah, the transplant, that we joke about it that we're just going to go out and start knocking over tall people and hoping that they're the right blood type, but he could be on dialysis for years, and it's a complicated thing to think that someone else has to potentially die. Like, obviously there are living donors, you can donate while you're alive, but that someone else has to potentially die so that someone else can live. And thankfully in Scotland, and I think this should be everywhere, obviously everyone's entitled to make their own choices about their own body. And if I'm an organ donor, my kids are organ donors, I signed them up basically as soon as they were born, before this was implemented. So in Scotland, everyone is an organ donor unless you opt out. So yeah, I think his brother said he'd give him his, but he doesn't meet the height requirement, unfortunately. Yeah, and that's where we're at the moment. So I went and seen him this morning, and my parents are going to come up and watch the kids this evening, and I will go back to the hospital and see him again, and then I will leave when his mum and his brother turn up. And that's the way it's going until he gets discharged. And then we have to start the dialysis appointments. And just trying to get through the day, really, at this point. But yeah, I hope everyone else is happy and healthy and having a much better time of it than we are at the moment. I mean, he's in a room with 3 other men that are in similar positions to him, but are a lot older. And thankfully, one of them has the same condition my husband has. So he's been telling him what to expect, and he's had his transplant. But he was in hospital because he got sick. Like he got a cold, and he had to go to hospital. So yeah, and the other 2 gentlemen that are in there are also the older, and they're also in the same position where they're in hospital because they caught something, not because, you know, their kidneys giving them issues, but because their immune system is compromised and they can't handle a simple bug that, you know, would make us feel like crap, but could potentially have more sinister effects for someone in their position. And that's what scares me the most, is what if he catches something really bad. Because a few years ago, in October, I took my grandmother into hospital, and she got put in a ward. She was in a lot of pain, and you know, they checked her out, and then the next day they discharged her, and I was so mad because she was 79 with lung cancer, and they discharged her and she was still in a lot of pain. And apparently what the consultant came round and said is, would you like to go home? And my grandmother got confused and said, like, yes, of course I'd like to go home. But she didn't think they were sending her home, and they shouldn't have sent her home. But the doctor took that to mean that, yeah, okay, we'll send you home. So I came and picked her up from hospital, raging, took her home, got her settled in, made sure she had everything that she needed, everything was in reach, that she could get to, you know, the toilet and anything like that, you know, her neighbours were great. She had a very close-knit community around her. If they needed them. And I went home, and the next day I get a phone call from her again. She got stuck, but she was able to call her neighbour, and her neighbour came round, and they all had keys to each other's houses because, you know, they're all elderly neighbours, and I suppose that's just what you do when you get to that age, just in case, you know. So her neighbour came round and helped her, got her up, and then she tried to phone an ambulance, and they refused to send her an ambulance. So like, right, I'm coming round. I went round, managed to get her in the car, took her to A&E, where obviously this is a 79-year-old immunocompromised woman with lung cancer, and she had to sit with everybody else. And then they got her into a ward, and it was about a day later they said she contracted hospital-contracted pneumonia, and because of that, everything was shutting down. And they took me into a room and said that basically all they could do at this point was make her comfortable. Obviously, I did not handle that very well, and I then had to go to explain to my grandmother that she was dying because apparently they tried to explain it to her, but she'd either forgot or she didn't understand. And I explained it to her, and she was very, very pissed that she wouldn't make it to her 80th birthday. I made a joke that, you know, we could spray paint her O2 mask black and she'd go as Darth Vader for Halloween, and she looked like, yeah, I'm not going to be here that long. And she was right, she passed on the 15th of October. But I will be glad when October is over in a few days, because one of my grandparents passed in October. Well, one of my granddads passed in October, and obviously my grandmother passed in October, and I just think October is, like, I love Halloween, but I think October is somewhat of a bad omen in my family, because now my husband is in the hospital in October. Yeah, so that's been us. So if you do pray, if you could pray for him, that would be great. If you don't, that's fine too. Just, yeah, I don't know what to do or say at this point. I don't know how I should act or anything, and I don't know whether to be hopeful or pessimistic, and just trying to play it that everything's fine until it's not fine. You know, if there's any problems, I will deal with them when I have to deal with them, and not try and anticipate or think that, you know, this is going to happen and that's going to happen and yada yada yada. Just deal with the problems at hand. We will see how it goes. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, for listening to me talk about my very depressing life at the moment. And I understand that some other people are in a similar, if not worse, position than us. And my heart, if you're dealing with anything like that. I know one of my followers recently lost their mum, and if you're dealing with anything like that, I wish the best for everyone involved. and please reach out to somebody if you are struggling. Thank you, guys.